Hello, friend, and welcome into the Her.Unlocked Podcast. I'm back. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous and I did press play and record a little and decided I wanted to restart this. A little rusty. And this episode is going to be something that is near and dear to my heart as I share a life update with you, not even what's been going on the last 2 months that I've taken a break from podcasting, but honestly, the last year. Because what I will tell you is that this last year has been one of the most challenging years of my life for a variety of reasons. And looking back, it is a year that could have broken me. And instead, it shaped me. And I believe that God puts us through these different seasons to refine us, to provide us an opportunity to hold more, to show up differently. It does not mean it's easy. It does not mean that I did that perfectly or in the way that I thought I wanted to. And I am still standing. And I am stepping in to a whole new era. And I'll tell you why that is. And so 2 months ago, I decided to take a break from podcasting. I knew I was going to be coming back. I knew that I'd be a little rusty and nervous of turning on the mic. And I knew that I wanted to show up a little bit differently here. In the past, and you'll still see some of this because I can't help myself, these episodes have been really focused on education and teaching. And that's still core to my brand, who I am. I'm always going to be throwing empowerment questions in for you to reflect on. And I'm committed to sharing more stories, my own stories from my community, still continuing to bring guests on for the Becoming Her series that drops the last Tuesday of the month. Committed to those things and more. And I wanted this to be a place, and I've always wanted this, I just hadn't unlocked it, to use my own terms, where it's more of a conversation with a friend. A deep conversation with a friend, because here's the thing. You know this probably about me. My friends know this. My family knows this. Like, I'm not for surface level conversation. So it's not going to be that kind of friend conversation. But I want to, moving forward as I turn on the mic, to share a bit more of what I'm walking through in the moment. Again, from a place of sharing my stories, my experiences, in hopes that it makes you feel less alone, that you can learn something from it and be empowered to do the work every single day that I'm going to be talking to you about, because it is an every single day decision to be purposeful in your life, no matter what kind of season you're walking through. And it's going to look different. This last year has looked really freaking different for me. And the last 6 months, the last 4 months, the last month, this last week, so much continues to be unlocked inside of me and outside of me, where God is like, you are ready. You are ready for a different level of healing. You are ready for a different level of how I want you to live your life. You were designed for more. You were designed to do this work on yourself and to help others do the work too. And so this past year, and it honestly has been about a year. And when I look back on the last year, and as I was reflecting on what I wanted to share with you today about my story and just what I've been walking through, is a year ago, a little over a year ago in May, I made a decision. And you'll hear me talk about these different decisions and these different decisions to take radical responsibility over my life, because that's what it is. It's so easy to live life as a victim, to live at effect, to say, woe is me, this is happening to me. And I lived a lot of my life that way because it was so easy to blame other people for my circumstances, for my reactions, for how I would show up. And what I've been learning this last year is to live at cause, to to live in a way where I am taking radical responsibility over my life, my actions, how I show up, my reactions. And it doesn't mean I do that well all the time. I am just more aware of what it feels like to live at effect, to play the victim in all aspects of my life. And certain aspects I've come a long way, and there are other aspects that I'm beginning to do this work in, because it's a lifelong journey. And so a year ago, getting back to that decision I made, left to hang in, a little over a year ago, last May, I decided to get sober curious. And I've shared this story in a previous podcast episode, which I'll link in the show notes if you're curious about it in more detail. And it was from a place of not hitting rock bottom. There wasn't this drinking every day situation. There wasn't this hiding alcohol. There wasn't this getting blackout drunk every time I drank. Alcohol was just a part of my lifestyle. It was a part of the celebrations. It was the part of the hard days. And what I was finding is that it just was not serving me well any longer. It created a fog over my life, whether it was one drink, whether it was multiple drinks. The next day, I didn't show up my best self in my business and motherhood, in my marriage, for myself. And there was such a ripple effect happening, and I just did not have the time to be wasting on this behavior that wasn't serving me well. And to be honest, I had been toying with the idea of being sober curious for a bit. It just felt hard. And then I was like, I don't have a problem. I'm not an alcoholic. Why would I have to get sober? And it wasn't about have to. And so God does what he does best. He is always talking to me through a sermon. And we had a neighborhood party on a Saturday, and I ended up drinking more than planned, waking up feeling not great, going to church with the family, feeling not great, sitting in the pew, feeling hungover. And the sermon is talking about, is there a sin in your life that is no longer serving you? And I was like, okay, God, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. This is it. You've been planting it on my heart for a while, and now you've made it loud and clear, and I felt it in my soul. And I had no idea what was going to transpire from that moment, because I took it as a way to get curious. And what transpired is sobriety. I've been sober for over a year. And I say that from a place of the girl who would have never in her life thought that she would be sober, that alcohol would not have some kind of place in her life. It was so ingrained in a way that felt normal. And looking back, it was a problem. And I am so grateful for the work that led me to being able to hear God so deeply in that moment to make this change. And it is the best change that I've had for myself and for my family and for my business, because it lifted the fog over my life. Alcohol leaves a fog for days, for weeks, for months. And I didn't even know until the fog was lifted how much it was impacting my life beyond that one night of drinking, that one day of drinking, that one drink, those 5 drinks, whatever it was. And now I tell people I'm sober because I want to share my testimony around that. And that's where this all started. A year before that, I was doing a lot of work on myself, on my health. I was doing a lot of what I would call the conscious work. And what transpired shortly after that decision to become sober was 2 things. I had the biggest ego blow in my career. My job changed significantly on paper, and what it felt like was a demotion. Everything that I had thought I cared about, that told me I was good enough, that I was worthy enough, that I was being successful in my career, it felt like it was taken away from me. And that was really hard to sit with. And I look back and I go, oh, okay, that's why I got sober, because that's only one of the many moments that transpired that felt really hard, that would have led me down a path of not allowing myself to fully feel and reaching for the alcohol to make me feel better, turning it into a bigger problem. And I didn't have that crutch to fall back on. And that biggest ego blow became one of my biggest blessings. And I'll tell you why that is in a moment. And then what transpired from that moment is a couple days later, I committed to the most life-changing coaching program out there. One of the things I'd been looking at was honing my craft in coaching. I have been coaching for over a decade through my corporate job and knew I really wanted to hone my craft. And so I'd been looking at coaching programs. And I just so happened to see a good friend post about this coaching program that looked and felt and sounded really different than what has been traditionally out there for coaching. And what was different is this concept of subconscious reprogramming, which truthfully, I didn't know a lot about. And as I started to explore what that was, what I learned that I will never unlearn. And it's why I decided to not only say yes to this program, but fully embody and commit to this work that has transformed my life, transformed my business, and is going to continue to transform all aspects of my life moving forward, because I'm only a year in. That 95% of our behaviors are driven by our subconscious. Only 5% of our behaviors are driven by our conscious. And I had spent my whole life focusing on the conscious and wondering why certain behaviors, certain ways of thinking, certain beliefs just didn't budge. Because I was stacking a bunch of strategies and methods and habits and information from the podcasts and the books and the gurus on top of a cracked foundation, on top of a cracked internal operating system. Because here is the eye-opening thing, is that you are imprinted. You receive this blueprint between the ages of 0 and 7. Yes. I know if you are a parent, you're like, whoo, what am I imprinting on my kids? And it is a reality. And the beautiful thing is you can change that imprint. You can redesign that blueprint using tools and techniques and coaching to tap into your subconscious mind. And that blew my mind, because all the other programs out there really focus on the conscious, which again is only 5% of where your behaviors are driven. I wanted to change my client's life. I also wanted to change my life. I wanted to go beyond the conscious and be able to support them differentially. And so I went first. I committed to this program before I even had a ton of experience with subconscious reprogramming. Something felt different. God was leading me down this path, and I was ready to say yes and do something different. Do something so transformative. And there was a part of me that was like, okay, let's give this a try. I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into. I don't know about some of these modalities. I had not experienced hypnosis, time techniques. I had heard of emotional freedom techniques, which I am now a practitioner across all of those things, as well as a certified life coach and success coach, and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, 6 certifications, board certified, and things that changed my life. And when I said yes to that program and I invested, I started to embody the techniques, the practices, better understanding how the subconscious mind works, realizing that it started with deciding. It starts with taking radical responsibility that you are the only one in charge of your life. You are the only one in charge of your results. And in my case, God is the one in charge of those results. And He is putting things into my subconscious that He wants me to bring forward. And he has gifted these tools and modalities to us to support us. I'm going to do a whole other episode on that because I know there is controversy around some of these practices, some of this thinking. And I've got a lot to say about that because they are the thing that brought me closer to him, to who he designed me to be, to the life he designed me to have. So I said yes to that and I started doing this work. And then a month later, we had a major health scare in our family. There's been 2 of those moments this year that rocked me to my core. We've been so blessed with very limited health issues in our family. And then in a year, there were 2 really scary moments, really scary seasons. And again, I look back and I'm like, man, God had me. I got sober. I got access to these tools that would allow me to move through this season in a way, I keep saying this, that would shape me and not break me. Even in some of those moments, I felt like I was breaking. I was being cracked wide open so I could grow and heal things that were even deeper than what I was walking through. And so we had that moment. And then a couple months later, I made a decision to say, hey, like this role isn't working. This is not what I signed up for. Honoring what I know I'm capable of, what I know I'm worthy of. And I got honest and I got clear, confident, and courageous with the company I was working for. And the decision that came down to was to go part-time. And so I went part-time in my corporate career back in November. A big decision for our family. Because financially, we have this consistent 2-income home. And I've shared in an episode before, we just had gotten out of debt, started to build our emergency fund, and then made this decision. And again, it came from a place of trusting myself, trusting the process, and trusting God. Ultimately trusting God, which is truthfully trust has been the hardest thing for me. Because I love to control. And releasing that control has changed so much for me. And coming out of that season of going part-time, we hit another health scare in our family. One so unexpected and life-changing. And at one point, I wondered if we would get another miracle. For some reason, there was a part of me that was like, God only gives one miracle one time a year. And he doesn't. He has stories written for all of us, and it's not, I'm going to serve you up one and then take away the other. He gets to decide where those miracles fall, and you can get multiple miracles every year, every month, every week, every day, big or small. And I'm learning that. Learning to trust that he has me, he has my family. And again, multiple miracles can come. They may not always look or sound or feel like what you thought. And yet they're exactly what he knows is important in the moment. He already wrote this story this year. He planted all these moments, all these things, these nudges. And coming out of this health scare, I made a decision that I was going to go all in on UnlockHerCo. My business, my coaching brand. And here's the thing. I actually made that decision 6 months ago. As a part of my coaching certification program, we were to write an achievable outcome. There's a process that we use called setting achievable outcomes that gets your conscious, which is your goal setter, and your subconscious, which is your goal getter. All your goals are being achieved from your subconscious level, right? 95% of your behaviors. And so I set this audacious goal that I thought was pretty unrealistic. I thought I knew at some point over the next year I would be going all in on UnlockHerCo. It just didn't, in the timeline I set, which was the end of this program, it felt out of reach and unattainable. And yet I had this feeling that that was what I was supposed to set. So I set this achievable outcome of going full-time in UnlockHerCo by the end of this program. And I graduated from the program. I'm forgetting the exact date now, but in June, early June. And at that point in time, I had put in my notice to walk away from my corporate career. And it was scary, and yet it felt so right. And I'm sitting here talking with you today, the first full day of being full-time with UnlockHerCo. I turned my computer in yesterday at my corporate job, and I consider myself retired from corporate America after being a corporate climbing gal for over a decade. And so I achieved that outcome not because I wished it, I manifested it. No, it was something that God desired for me. And then he was like, and you've got to put in the work. So I put in the work. I worked on my subconscious and my conscious. I worked on my feelings and emotions and behaviors. I took radical responsibility over my life. Even through the hard, even when it felt nearly impossible to put one foot in front of the other. Even when my tools felt really far away, especially over the last couple of months, stuff felt really far away. And I kept getting curious. And I kept showing up. And I kept putting in the work. And I kept reminding myself that where my focus goes, my energy flows. And I could sit in all of this and make decisions from this really challenging place that wouldn't serve me well. Or I could make decisions that were going to serve me better. And one of those decisions was to finally trust that God would provide when I put in my notice. Because me putting my notice wasn't from a place of rolling in dough in my business, in full transparency. It was made from a place of God was calling me for more, for bigger impact, to have more capacity to not just pour into my business, but pour into my marriage, pour into motherhood, pour into my health, and pour into the purpose He has for me. My time was up in corporate America. And looking back over this last year, there were so many nudges. He knew I would not go if I still had the team and the role and being on the leadership team. He knew it would be harder for me to walk away from that. My ego, because here's the thing, my ego has been so wrapped up in titles and climbing the ladder and making more money. And he was like, that's got to go. What you're meant for is beyond the titles, beyond the accolades, beyond the constant external validation that you have craved all of your life. And I'm giving you an opportunity to step in to the more, to step into your purpose, to become the woman I designed you to be and live the life I designed you to live. And it didn't make it easy. And stuff kept happening. And I just kept chipping away at what he desired me to do, that next best step. And I didn't always it wasn't always, what was I going to say? I didn't always take the step that I know he wanted me. So there were a step forward, a step to the side, a step back, 5 steps forward. It wasn't a linear path here. And yet I showed up every day with what we call in NLP, in my neuro-linguistic programming space, with excellence, which is doing the best you can with the resources you have available in that moment. And that is going to look different in every season. It could look different every single day. It could look different throughout a day. Reminding yourself, I am doing the best I can with the resources available to me. And when friction happens, get curious. What can I do with this? What's my next best step given the things I cannot control? Because there is so much in life that we cannot control. And so for me, those are the things I kept leaning into. Getting curious and getting creative, and the next best aligned action to take towards what God was calling me towards. And I don't know what's ahead. It's freaking scary to step out and say, I'm going all in on my dreams, on myself, on the purpose he has called me for. And yet I feel lighter today. I have 0 reservations. Even though I'm scared, even though I'm nervous, I have 0 reservations that this was the next best step for a variety of reasons. And I am so excited that I have unlocked another layer, another part of my life, another part of my story. And I've unlocked more healing, because here's the thing, it's not done. As you grow, as you expand, as you heal certain parts of you from the inside out, as you do this deeper self-development work, you will uncover more. And yes, that sounds hard. And yes, that may not sound fun. And yet that is where true fulfillment is found. That is where true joy is found. That is where your voice is found. That is where your power is found. That is where your desires and your purpose is found. Isn't that what you want? I know I do. And I just think back to Brittany a year ago, or even Brittany 2 years ago, where I dipped my toe into entrepreneurship and had no idea what I was doing. Again, all I felt was a nudge on my heart. And I followed it little by little. Not a clue where it was going to lead me. And here I am, making it through one of the most challenging years of my life. And I'm still in the middle of some of those challenges. And yet I have hope and I have trust that I am capable, that I am resourceful, and that God has me. And so I just want to share a couple of I know I've shared a lot of reflections, but I was just, when I think about this last year and something I've been putting into practice that I might be helpful for you, is really reflecting on what I'm learning about myself, what I'm proud of myself for, and what I'm grateful for. Because that's where refinement comes. When we can step back, and not always in the moment, step back, take a pause, because there's power in the pause, and allow ourselves time to reflect. To be able to take these things and apply them moving forward. To see that even though there's a lot of challenges happening around you, there is still so much growth. Truly, the most growth happens when you're walking through challenges. And so I want to share a couple of things with you. And what I would also say is, I talked earlier about how God always planting sermons I need to hear. And the one that we heard this Sunday plays into a lot of the things that have transpired for me and the work I've been doing, is that you reap what you sow. You reap where you sow. You will reap after you sow, and you will reap at the right time. And the thing about that is, when you are living your life with purpose, on purpose, you can change your reality. You can reap different things. And so if you are not experiencing this, what the sermon talked about, and it's also very tied to my work and also the work that I am doing, because there's certain areas of my life where I have sowed and I am reaping. And there are other areas of my life that require me to start sowing more purposefully to reap a different reality in those areas. And I believe God has prepared me for that. And so I would just say, if you are finding friction in certain areas of your life, how are you sowing in that part of your life? How are you being purposeful? How are you not living out of effect and playing victim and the blame game? Because you are the owner of your behaviors. You are the owner of your reality. God is calling us to lean in and do the work to be able to behave in a way that serves us well. Behave in a way that's in alignment to who we've been designed to be, so that we can have that life He designed for us. Okay. I just wanted to share that because I was like, that is the essence of this past year and what I'm going to be leaning into moving forward. Because what I shared with you is that there are areas where I have not been purposefully sowing, purposefully spending time. And those areas require my attention moving forward. And I'm excited about the self-awareness I have around that and the vulnerability I have with myself and others to say, yeah, this isn't working. And here's my commitment moving forward. Here's the place I've had a hand in this or not had a hand in this. And that is actually something I've been learning. So some of the things that I've been learning about myself, which I've sprinkled some of these things in, is that what I have uncovered through my subconscious reprogramming work for myself, because it's all about uncovering these limiting beliefs and these stuck emotions that we have in our internal operating system, is that I have a deep-rooted one around worthiness and that I have to earn my worth. Somehow that got imprinted into me in my early years. And I have carried that forward and operated from that place, because your limiting beliefs are where you're behaving from. If you have these stories you've told yourself, these beliefs that aren't serving you well going on in your mind, you are then behaving in alignment to those limiting beliefs if you do not uproot them and create a new blueprint that has more empowering beliefs in it. So that's something I'm learning. And a part of that I uncovered is that I have learned that I believe success has to be hard in all areas of my life. And that's a recent discovery. And things started to click of like, man, and then I'm behaving in a way that makes things hard. And so understanding that success doesn't have to be hard. Success can be easy and fun. My version of success, no one else's version of success. What I've also learned is I'm freaking resourceful. It's a strength of mine. I can figure out a way. And with God, I'm unstoppable. Truly. Another is feedback is just data. It doesn't define me. I can receive it, use it, or let it go. I'm someone who has spent her entire life being afraid of feedback. Feedback in the essence of criticism, constructive criticism, areas of opportunity, whatever you want to call it. I would take it so personally and let it define me. And now I'm learning that it's just data, that it can be supportive, and it doesn't have to define me. And one last one, the more I honor my too muchness, that is a story I've told myself, is that I'm too much. My energy is too much. My volume of my voice is too much. My emotions are too much. I am too much. The more I honor the too muchness and see it as a gift and see it as just right, the more I become energetically aligned to who God designed me to be. And it's been really beautiful to watch what has transpired the more I stay in this lane and not try to downplay who I am, not try to fit in a box, and just honoring the parts of me that make me who I am. And it's been a long journey to get here because I have this deep desire to be liked. And so if I can be who you want me to be, I have found myself doing that because then I'm successful. If you like me, if you perceive me as your version of success, then I am successful. And I'm working to rewire that. Things I'm proud of myself for: my tenacity in this season, choosing to lean in to the hard moments versus lean away. No matter how uncomfortable those moments have been, I'm choosing to be vulnerable with myself, with those around me. And it is not easy, and yet it is so worth it because that's where change can happen. When we are not hiding parts of us, we're not hiding what we're walking through. We are letting the right people in, not everybody in, so that I can feel supported. I'm proud of myself for trusting myself, the process, and most importantly, God. There were a lot of moments this year where I had to consciously make the decision to trust. I've talked about trust, yet I was still not fully trusting. And this year taught me how to trust. And that beautiful things come from trusting. It doesn't mean those things are going to be easy when you trust, that life is going to be easy when you trust. All I know is that whatever He is taking me through is bringing me to a more beautiful part of my story, opening me up to more beautiful parts of me and honoring that. I'm proud of myself for intentionally taking a break with the podcast when life and my career and my business felt really, 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 really full. There was a part of me that had fear that I wouldn't turn the mic back on, that this would show that I'm not consistent, that I don't want it bad enough, that somehow I would be perceived as not successful in the podcast space. And yet it was one of the best decisions that I made in my business. And now I feel more on fire for what I'm going to be talking to you about moving forward. And then the last thing that I am proud of myself for is graduating from my certification program. I am now a board certified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, hypnotherapist, emotional freedom technique, aka tapping practitioner, time techniques practitioner, certified success coach, certified life coach. 6 certifications that not only are going to support my business and my clients and you, they're supporting me because I am an embodiment of this work. I have embodied the transformation that this work can do and will continue to do. Because again, it's not a one-time thing. Really honing my craft to be able to live out my mission to empower more women to make the impact and income you are destined for by unlocking who you are designed to be and the life you're designed to live. That is my mission. That is my purpose. That is what God has called me to do. And this coaching certification sets me up to do that in a bigger way. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for my practitioner, Julie, who said yes to doing this work and then going to be master practitioner and trainer, which I have also signed up for master practitioner with her because I believe in this work. I believe that it is a powerful tool given to us by God, powerful tools given to us by God to better hear, feel, and see Him and what He wants for us. He wants us to live a more empowering life that serves others. And this work unlocks that at a deeper level. Other things I'm grateful for are the miracles, big and small, that God provided. I talked about how I thought, oh, He's only going to give one miracle in a year. And that just is not the case. And that miracles look different. They take on different shapes. They come through different people. They show up in different situations. That I am grateful for the hard. Because like I've said time and time again, it has shaped me, not broken me. I am who I am because of what I've walked through this year. And I'm sitting here turning on this mic because of what I've walked through this year. This is only the beginning of my story, and I'm excited for what's about to transpire. I'm grateful for my husband and my family's support. I have a wildly supportive husband who has leaned in over these last couple of years more than ever, who was willing to have the hard conversations, even when it was scary and it felt risky to go all in on this business. And yet he still leaned in. And my family, who didn't bat an eye when I said I was going to put in my notice and I was going to go all in on this business. I know that support has allowed me the ability to say yes more confidently, to say yes more courageously, and to know that it was another reinforcement by God when that type of support kept showing up. I'm thankful for my clients who have trusted me. There's been lots of versions of me and coaching that's happened over the last couple of years. And my clients continue to lean in and show up and do the work because this work matters and they see it transforming their lives. And they know they're coming to me to be empowered to do this work, that I am not the one doing the work. They are. And I am equipping them and empowering them with the tools and the mindset and the skills to do it. And lastly, sitting here as I close the chapter on my corporate career, I am thankful for my corporate career. I'm a girl who went from undergrad to get her master's in human resources, got an internship, got a full-time job at a, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company, put that I wanted to be the chief people officer on my individual development plan every single year, thinking that was the dream. Getting opportunities after opportunities to do different roles, to get to coach people, to get to facilitate. Looking back, realizing all of those moments were leading to this, to building UnlockHerCo, to feeling ready and equipped because of my corporate career. And there were lots of moments along the way that I felt resentful towards things that were happening. I felt resentful that I wasn't moving as fast as everybody else in my master's program. I questioned myself and my worth along the way. And now I know God was like, the intent behind this wasn't to climb the ladder all the way up and spend your life in corporate America. It was to go and get the skills, the experiences to allow you to see what is meant for you. To be able to take those skills and experiences and apply them in a different capacity that's in more alignment to what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the support that I got along the way, even if it didn't always feel the best. Even if I didn't know where things were going with my career, even though I had a lot of questions and concerns and frustration, now I know. It's always hindsight is 20, what is it? Hindsight 2020? I don't know. Hindsight 50-50. Looking back, like you don't know till you're on the other side. And now I know everything that transpired over my entire career was leading to this moment. This moment where I have stepped in to my voice, my power, my purpose. And I am ready for what's ahead. And I know what's ahead is a whole other layer of growth and expansion and healing. Because I talked about earlier, as you unlock different layers of your story and who you are, there's more underneath it. There's more work to be done. And how beautiful is that? Because we're meant to grow and evolve. And I look on this last year, especially how much growth and evolution happened for me. And I'm just kind of in awe of like how things transpired. And yet I'm not surprised because this is how God works. There's no coincidences on how things went down, the people he put in my life, this program he brought forward, the work that he's done in my heart and my soul and my subconscious, because that's him. And as this era closes on the girl who thought she was going to be corporate climbing her entire life, stepping into a new era where I am defining what success looks like. I'm defining what my future holds. And I'm following what God has for me, not what others have for me. And I'm ready. I'm claiming it. I'm excited about it. And I cannot wait to continue to walk this journey with you. I'm so grateful for you as a listener. I'm excited for the episodes ahead. I want you to come into my DMs. I love hanging out on Instagram, and I want to know what landed with you as you've reflected on your own story as I shared mine. We're halfway through this year. This feels like a timely episode of reflection, even though I reflected over the last year. And I want to know, what did you connect with? What did you take away? And what do you want to hear more about? All right, friend, I heart you. I'll see you in the next episode.